Over 400 Hollywood stars from Jennifer Aniston to Tom Hanks have just signed a shocking letter, warning that America is facing a dark moment for freedom of speech. At the center of it all, Jimmy Kimmel. His late-night show was suddenly pulled off the air, sparking a storm that now pits celebrities, corporations, and even the government against each other. But the real story here isn't just about one comedian. It's about whether powerful voices can be silenced when they speak out. On September 22nd, the American Civil Liberties Union dropped an open letter that sent shockwaves through Hollywood. More than 400 celebrities put their names on it, standing shoulder to shoulder with Jimmy Kimmel. The message was blunt: we the people must never accept government threats to our freedom of speech. And the signatures weren't just from smaller names. We're talking Jennifer Aniston, Ben Affleck, Tom Hanks, Selena Gomez, Pedro Pascal, Meryl Streep, and dozens more. These weren't just entertainers, they were household icons, stepping into the fight with a united voice. The letter warned that Kimmel's suspension wasn't an isolated case, but part of something much bigger. It described it as a dark moment for freedom of speech in our nation, and made it clear if one voice can be silenced, anyone's can. So why was Jimmy Kimmel suddenly taken off the air? It all came down to one segment and one set of comments that lit a firestorm. Just days after the shocking death of conservative commentator Charlie Kirk, Kimmel addressed the tragedy on his show. He criticized the political spin surrounding the shooting, calling out what he saw as desperate attempts to twist the narrative. In the middle of his monologue, he played a clip of former President Trump. Instead of offering condolences, Trump pivoted to talking about ballroom construction at the White House. Kimmel's punchline was biting. Yes, he's at the fourth stage of grief: construction. Within hours, the backlash hit. Disney's ABC, under pressure from powerful media groups and political voices, pulled the plug on Jimmy Kimmel Live just before its September 17th broadcast. What looked like a joke to Kimmel was suddenly seen as offensive and insensitive by his critics, and it was enough to get him silenced. The suspension didn't just shock fans, it sent ripples through the entire media industry. Nexstar Media, one of the biggest broadcasting giants in America, quickly labeled Kimmel's comments offensive and insensitive. That was a strong statement. But what came next was even bigger. Nexstar had just announced a multi-billion-dollar deal to acquire rival broadcaster Tech, a move that would give them control of TV access in nearly 80% of American households. With that much influence, their decision to freeze out Kimmel carried enormous weight. Behind the scenes, critics began asking a dangerous question: was this really about a single late-night joke, or was it about political pressure reaching deep into corporate boardrooms? The lines between comedy, business, and government suddenly blurred, and the battle was only getting started. As the controversy grew, another powerful player entered the fight: Sinclair Media, the nation's largest ABC affiliate group. They didn't just echo Nexstar's outrage, they went further. Sinclair demanded that Kimmel issue a public apology to Charlie Kirk's family and even make a donation to Turning Point USA, Kirk's political organization, before he could return to air. And then came the government angle. FCC Chair Brendan Carr openly praised Sinclair's move, framing it as a pushback against Disney's programming. That raised alarms, because if the federal regulator of America's airwaves was cheering Kimmel's removal, critics wondered, was this about protecting community values, or was it the government itself leaning on broadcasters to silence a voice they didn't like? Then, as if the drama wasn't already explosive, former President Trump weighed in. During a state visit to the UK, he dismissed the entire controversy with one brutal line: Jimmy Kimmel was fired because he had bad ratings. But he didn't stop there. Trump called Kimmel untalented, claiming he should have been taken off the air years ago. To his supporters, it was proof that the suspension was justified. To his critics, it sounded like political gloating, a powerful figure cheering the downfall of a comedian who dared to mock him. Trump's words poured gasoline on an already burning debate. Was this really about ratings, or was it a public example of how quickly dissenting voices can be crushed? Trump may have laughed off Kimmel's suspension, but Hollywood wasn't laughing. Within days, hundreds of stars from Jennifer Aniston and Ben Affleck to Meryl Streep and Selena Gomez put their names on that open letter. It wasn't just celebrity chatter, it was a united front. The letter declared Kimmel's removal a dark moment for freedom of speech, warning that if one entertainer could be silenced, anyone could. Actors, musicians, directors, even Disney stars currently working under the same company that pulled Kimmel chose to speak out. That level of solidarity is rare in Hollywood, and it sent a powerful message. This fight was no longer just about one late-night host. It was about protecting the right of every artist to speak freely, no matter who's in power. What made this moment so explosive is that it wasn't just about Jimmy Kimmel, it was about the ripple effect. The letter pointed out that teachers, students, journalists, researchers, even government employees are facing the same kind of pressure to stay silent. If networks can pull a top late-night host off the air overnight, what does that mean for everyday voices with far less protection? The controversy turned into a warning. Free expression in America is under strain, and if entertainers with global platforms can be muted, the stakes for ordinary citizens are even higher. At its core, this wasn't just a Hollywood drama. It was a fight over who gets to decide what voices are allowed to be heard. Jimmy Kimmel may be the name in headlines, but the battle unfolding goes far beyond one comedian. On one side, powerful media giants and government figures argue his comments crossed a line. On the other, Hollywood's biggest stars warn this could be the beginning of a dangerous new era where free speech bends under political pressure. The question now is simple and chilling. Is this just a temporary suspension, or the first sign that voices across America can be silenced the moment they challenge those in power? The answer will decide not just Kimmel's future, but the future of free expression itself.